This is Your Pain Game podcast, where we talk about the game of living in and with chronic pain and trauma, getting to the heart of how to heal. I am your host, Lindsay Soprano. On this show, I plan on discussing with doctors, chronic pain patients, holistic practitioners, loved ones, and anybody that is interested in having their voice heard in the chronic pain and trauma world that we live in. So I'd like to take like a hot minute to think about and talk about rebellion. Does everybody have like a memory of the most like epic rebellious moment that you've had in your life thus far? I know for me, there's a big fight between the most epic rebellious stuff that I've done in my life, right? So hold on to it for a little bit and think about how much fun we had, right? When we were young and we were free and we could do whatever we want to and there were no consequences. And that's what we thought, right? We thought rebellion, all of these things are happening to us and we don't know the shit that's happening to us when we're young. We don't know. We don't know about abandonment issues because we don't even know what abandonment is. We don't know why we rebel. We don't know why we decide the things that we decide at such a young age. And so many of those decisions that we make as kids and as teenagers and even into our adulthood, so much of it stems from childhood trauma, abandonment issues, and a lot of our acting out and rebellion, especially from a girl's perspective, and I can speak to that for sure, is because, wow, did I get left behind in a lot of places in my world, right? And when we take those moments with us and we say, hey, what can we do with them now as we've gotten older? Be honest with ourselves and look at ourselves in the mirror and be grossly honest with ourselves, we can take that crap that we've been through and turn it into badassery, right? And so I've got this chick today. She is the biggest badass on the planet when it comes to getting through things that have happened to her in her life and turning them into millions, not just dollars, but in cents. And I say that specifically, and I actually just came up with that right off the top of my head right now. The cents is what matters because it all adds up. So her story is riddled with sexual assault and teenage rebellion, unstable living environments and abandonment and substance abuse and inner city gangs. I mean, this girl has been through so much and I want to talk about it with you guys. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you today my guest, Jennifer Hernandez. Girl, Happy New Year. And thank you for being here with us today.
Happy New Year. No, thank you for having me here. It is like such an honor. I think you are so incredible and I think we're going to be besties.
I mean, it's quite possible. There has been a waiting list. So there's an official bestie waiting list. No, I'm totally kidding. So Jennifer, you are a badass. You are a single mother of 4 and you've worked in the mortgage industry for over 18 years, but your success was not an easy road to walk on, which got you here. She is in the top 1% of loan officers in the United States, Scotsman Guide's top producer, FHA's top 50 in the nation, and the National Association of Real Estate Professionals' top 250 producers, and the number 1 for FHA lending in the state of Illinois. So I'm rolling out the red carpet for you, babe, and I'd like to talk with you about your childhood abandonment, because I feel after reading your book, and we'll get into your book, but I feel like after reading your book, the abandonment piece, and of course the sexual assault, which is such an uplifting topic that we do unfortunately have to talk about too much on this show. I'd like to talk about that living environment and how those earlier traumas of yours led you down the path kind of a little bit of self-destruction. And then let's take it from there.
Yeah. So now, obviously, reflecting at the time, knowing nothing, but reflecting is that, I thought growing up, a lot of it came from, my mom moving out of state when I was 11. But it was so, so much more than that, because even though someone's present in nature and is there and does all the things, provides the house and home and cooks the dinner, like that doesn't mean that you're present. And, if you don't know, like, you don't know how to communicate or really know who I am. It's just, I felt so alone. And so I felt abandoned in multiple aspects. And then, living in the environment I lived in, it was it was verbally abusive. And then there were some emotional things. And then I felt like that was all I deserved because I was very young, right? So I was accepting that at a young age. And those young age for our children is the most important age. It's where we develop what we believe is all we deserve. So I continued to be okay with less than in my life because I wasn't aware that they were just broken people and I was just a victim of my circumstance.
Yeah, and I mean when you're a little girl, I mean, or a little boy, it doesn't even matter. You are there going, well, I guess this is what it's supposed to be like because you don't know anything other than your environment and your living environment and the people that are around you and these people that are supposed to be taking care of you and are your parents or your caregivers or your guardian or what have you. And then they let you down. How do you, at such a young age, we, the royal we, how do we like know any different other than what we've been shown until then all of a sudden we start seeing like how other kids' lives are and we're like, huh, well, that's interesting because that's not at all what's going on in my fucking house. So
Right.
you went through so much at such a young age. So can you talk about how when you were young, because there was a lot of stuff that went on with your mom and your dad, because you started out with the divorce situation with your parents. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that kind of trajected you into you were bouncing around like a fucking ping pong ball for most of basically your life up until fairly recently when you started to become really, really successful, which by the way, I applaud you for everything that you've been through and how you've come through that. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, that's the thing. So the divorce was very pertinent to me because life was never the same again from that moment forward. And I was only four. And so I don't have a whole lot of memories of my parents even being together.
Sure.
But it's so weird that I remember them telling me they were getting divorced, of course, right? That would be the biggest traumatic thing. So, of course, that would.
Yeah.
And the other thing I remember is my mom lying to me when I met her soon to be next husband and saying it was like her girlfriend's boyfriend. I'm like,
Oh, that's right. Oh God, I was like,
he's
come
really
on,
close
mom.
to you. Like, he don't seem like that's her girlfriend. He seems like your boyfriend. I'm like, and I was young and I could pick up on the energy, you know? And so there's lying and stuff that happened. But I mean, for me as a child, like I always wished for my birthday until I was probably 13 that my parents would get back together. And I know not what I'm wishing for, truthfully, because the fact is they weren't together for a reason. Um, she probably ran for the same reasons why I ran. And we didn't know that, just like I didn't know why I was really running. And the truth is that she lost her virginity to my father, so she didn't know anything other than, and they lived in a day where they were to, sit and speak when spoken to type of thing. And so how do you know how to communicate with your children when you are hardwired from birth that you only speak when spoken to? So if I'm not speaking to him, he's not speaking to me. There's no conversation. But I was raised by my mom, and things were different there. So I just didn't. He was the good time dad, and until he had to become the full time parent, it was like, oh, you were great. But then when I went there, I was like, oh, what's this? you know.
Well, and that's when your rebellion really took off. I mean, let's be real. Like you started dabbling. Can we talk about a little bit of your dabbling here for a moment, my dear?
Sure. So of course it always starts like everybody's always starts with cigarettes or alcohol, right? And then marijuana, then acid, cocaine, wiki water. I mean, you name
Yeah.
it, I did it. And it's weird because I feel like I went through like stints where I was bad on all the different things. The truth is I was just trying to escape my pain and I was looking for a way to. Um, I ran from the house because my system knew like I couldn't take that behavior, if you will, or treatment. Like I wanted more. I think I knew internally that I deserved more. And so I just ran from it.
Yeah, and we cope. I mean, especially as kids, we figure out whatever our coping mechanism. Mine was cigarettes and alcohol for sure, right out of the gates. Little girl. So I totally identify with that. And also, you said something in your book about how rebellion, like, when you rebel, we're really looking for attention, big picture. We don't know that's what we're doing psychologically as kids, but we're looking for attention. We're hungry. I know my separated family was a complete S show, and I've got all kinds of things to say about that, but this isn't about me right now. It's about you. but it's unbelievable how much we, especially as little girls, when we've been abandoned and left behind and sexually assaulted and you start piling it up. Of course, we're going to be rebellious. Of course, we're going to act out. Of course, we're going to say, "Hey, mom, dad, anybody, take a look at what the fuck is going on here. I am not okay. And you guys are the adults." And my takeaway from a lot of the relationship with your parents and reading the book was they weren't paying attention to you and your brother at all. They were only caring about their life and what was going on within them. And they forgot about you too.
Well, and I think what it is that it takes accountability and consciousness in order to know that she's being a product of her environment. And what have I done? What does she need from me? Like there was like no accountability. It's like something is wrong with her. Let's put her in a place. They're going to figure out what's wrong with her, dope her up on meds, you know. And the truth is that like I have a psychotherapist that I was working with, and she's like, I don't work with youth anymore because I can't, because the problem is the parents, but the parents don't know that the problem is the parents. So nobody will look in the mirror and say, like, I am responsible for the things, like, how do we fix it? Jennifer, what is missing for you? I need to feel loved. I need to feel accepted. I need to feel like I match her. I don't just matter when I act out and I get your freaking attention. No. How about you show me some love so that like I know that I am actually loved, because it doesn't feel like love. The things that you show me, they don't feel like love. They don't feel good. You don't make me feel warm and fuzzy, you know? I don't feel like you pay attention to me, you know? And there's never any of that, you know? So like those stints in and out of mental hospitals, which I know we didn't touch on that, but I was locked up in and out of adolescent facilities, and they didn't get to the core of anything. All they
Of
did was
course not.
drugs.
Yeah, of course not. And that's not even being locked up in a mental facility either. That's just any doctor that we go to, they're like, "All right, here you go. We're just going to throw you on this and then we'll see how you do on that." And like, can we talk about like why I might actually be feeling this way? Like where the root cause may be? Because I think we should start there. It's like, let's just get down to like something like high cholesterol. I know it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. High cholesterol, guess where it is? A lot of it lives in your liver. Maybe you should look at your liver instead of what you're putting in your mouth. Do they have things that have in common? Yes, they do. For me, I don't eat like crap. I don't eat butter. I don't eat cheese. I don't eat milk. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat like crap. I have 375 is my cholesterol. I like 103 pounds wet. Has nothing to do with the food that's in my body. Be curious, right? So when we're talking about our mental health, getting curious about why the hell we feel the way we do, why we're exercising the demons that are within us and where they came from. We're kids of the 70s and 80s where our parents were like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, she's acting out. Let's just lock her up in a fucking mental institution because we don't know what to do.
Or break a brush on her behind and maybe that will help her.
My God, something.
Right.
So that led to, so you went in and out of a couple facilities. Did you go 2 or 3?
No, 2 different facilities. One I went to twice, but the other one I went to school at for like months.
And so that experience there, can you explain to us what that experience was for you?
So actually my dad didn't know what to do. So instead of saying like, I don't know what to do, but I really want to help you, daughter, like, let's talk about what's wrong. Instead, he went to the police department and he asked the police for help. He asked them to help him, that his daughter's out of control. He doesn't know what to do. So he came up to the school and he's like, Jen, we got to go. The police need to talk to you. I'm like, I haven't done anything. He's like, well, something happened and they need to speak with you. So I got to take you to the police department right now. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, what? And so we went to the police department. Then my mom comes in, who is obviously, she was back in state, but she's in and out, you know, in and out. So she comes up to the police department and after I'm there for hours and they want me to sign an agreement to not hang out with my friend, because of course everybody else is the problem, not me. Well, guess who's the common denominator in all my friend group? It's me. I'm the problem. So it's not, you know, so they're like, you have to sign an agreement, not hang out with your best friend. Well, my boyfriend was spending the night at her house that night. So there was zero chance I was signing that agreement. So I sat there for hours. I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Take me home. I'm not doing this. I said, Dad, you know, I'm going to phase as soon as we leave here, you know. And he's like, just sign the agreement and we'll just go home. Well, then my mom came in the room and my mom's like, your dad brought you up here because he doesn't know what to do with you. I'm like,
yeah.
What? I've been here all day long and you're telling me you brought me here and you asked for this? And he was so upset. He was so upset. I lost it. Like, I was so pissed. I wouldn't talk to either one of them. They brought a stretcher up there, strapped me down to it, pretended like they were going to take me to the hospital. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I'm not going to let you go. We're not going to go, and then he felt bad about it. It's like, why didn't you just sit me down and say, hey, we got to get to the issue. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, how are you, where's it coming from? How about you just talk to me, And so instead, I signed their little agreement. I went home and I ended up spending the night at my friend's house. We got in trouble, got arrested, and I ended up in the mental hospital that night.
I love how you just like, and then I just ended up in the mental hospital. You just like, and that is like what. That's actually unbelievable how you just kind of like brush that under the rug, because that is not a brush it under the rug kind of situation, girlfriend. Like, that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot for a little girl to go through and carry that forward and keep carrying that forward, and that heavy weight. And you're a mother of 4 children.
Yeah.
I don't know why you did that, by the way. 4 kids, you're crazy.
You know why? Because I was going to end up dead or in jail. And so
Yeah, I do know why. Dead in jail or 4 kids. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
It's a really tough one, actually.
For me, that's a 50-50 split for me.
And I have to tell you, and parents who are listening, listen up, guys. That sophomore year, there's something about it. Pay attention, because each one of my kids tried to roll off the handle, but because their mom was who their mom was, they couldn't get away with anything, nothing. They got real close like one time, but they never got away with it ever. And you have, like, you can't go back. See, I learned that you can't come after the fact and be like, oh, I want to fix it. You have to fix it in the moment. Like, when they try to go off rail, you have to pull them back and make sure that they understand it's not happening, because that's you. And when they hate you, that means they know you care.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't
discipline.
Yeah. If they don't hate you, you're doing something wrong. I mean,
absolutely.
Unless they just had no trauma. But for me, I was swore at and talked to like pretty foul. So I rolled some of that over to my kids. And then I had to I had to take ownership, and I had to come back in and I had to fix that and be like, my bad. I know not what I do, because I didn't know that was wrong. That's how I was raised.
Sure. I mean, you talk about your accountability earlier. You're doing what you wanted your parents to do, which was holding yourself accountable for the behavior and the way that you're acting in regards to your children. Again, there's fucking kids, man. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what we know. And so for you to put your knowledge and your experience and your life and all the things that you went through and say, like, guys, guess what? Yeah, I know everything because I've tried it all and I've done it all. So nice try. And sophomore year, you're right. That was my year as well, where it was like, wow, things could have gone so different in my world had my sophomore year been different than what it was.
Yeah, I had straight Fs. That was that
was not me, not from a grade perspective. I was an honor student. I was gross. And I have no idea how. I have no idea. I was in the back row. I was always skipping school. I was doing my thing. I was always rebellion. I was getting tattoos like on the backside of a wall behind my high school, like really, really epic stuff. And I just, I didn't get caught. I didn't get caught. I didn't get caught. I didn't get caught. And it kept going and going and going. Even when I did get caught, I still didn't have consequences. The consequences have turned into basically coming towards my consequences ended up being in my late 30s and my early 40s when it came to my health and my body, from all of the disastrous rebellious stuff that I did with my body and to my body. It's all like I'm faced with it now. And so that's for a different day. But okay, so we've got you locked in adolescent facilities, teenage rebellion like crazy, abandonment. Your mom's crazy with her new spouse moving back and forth. You've got your dad and his new wife, who is a joy from my understanding. God, I'm rolling my eyes so big. I'm rolling my eyes so big on stepmom. Your stories are so crazy because you got involved in gangs as well. Can we talk about gangs? I mean, good God, she's she's dealing with people in Chicago gangs as well. So can we chit chat on that as well? Can we chit chat about that too?
Oh yeah, they accepted me for who I was, and their families took me in and acted as if like I was part of their family, and they didn't even know me. You know how great that felt? As me, as this broken girl who really just wants to be cared for, loved, and I felt that from like random strangers, and it felt really good. And it's it's so ironic because like the one main family who like treated me like that and really I felt that for, and they had my daughter's like baby shower for me, their own children have, had so much hurt and stuff that they have yet to deal with, but it's like they kind of saved me. So it's just ironic, like everybody needs something different. We just don't know what that is in the time, but like if we could all just give a little bit more love and compassion and understand that we're all imperfect and try to grow, this can just be just so much of a better world. But yeah, the gangs, and it get like the streets gives you everything you need: acceptance, ways to have fun, drugs, sex, like lots of rebellious crazy things, raves. I mean, it was not fun being chased at and shot at. And I don't know if you know this or not, but they play bumper cars with like real life cars in the city.
What?
Yes, yes. So
I don't
it's
know
like,
what this means. Right now, I'm like at a small little crappy like fairground thinking about bumper cars. What are you talking about? So in Chicago, like you guys just run into each other like a bunch of dicks and play a game? What's happening here?
yeah, they chase you with their cars and they try to ram your car. And if they don't have a gun to shoot you, they'll just ram their car into your car until they hopefully can crash you or harm you in some way. Yeah.
Did I communicate my thoughts in that with no words? Because that's where I was for a second. This one is usually not without words. So what
I
the
remember
fuck?
the first time I got shot at, like the first time I got shot at, because when you live in
The
the
first time, hold on, guys. The first time I got shot at.
yeah, the first time is very scary, like my
No.
whole body
Oh,
was
it is?
shivering. I was like, what's going on? And like some of my friends, they just laughed at me because it's everyday life they live. This is their everyday thing. And I remember one of them was just cracking up so hard. I'm like, this is not because he seen me shaky. I was like this. And then after that, like you just know what's coming and you just try to duck, hide, cover, avoid the bullets. And it's just, but the thing about it is we turn to the streets for a reason. We're all broken. We're all looking for something. And if there was something out there, I think people would turn to it. It's just there really isn't an ecosystem like that out there. And if your family can't give you what you're looking for, we're going to find it.
Yeah, you seek elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, my mentor, he used to say it great. He's like, I didn't have a father, so I looked for one, and guess what? I found one on the streets. They guided me to be exactly who they needed me to be. When someone needs a role model, they're going to find one. Doesn't mean they're going to be the one that they need.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily going to be a good one either. And I remember in your book how you were talking about how, like, yeah, I just showed up at my dad's house and there were bullet holes in my car. I'm like, okay, if I'm dad, I am like taking you and I am putting you in like the biggest bubble hug wrap that I could possibly do and make sure that you're safe. And that was not what I felt that you got, even still. And that makes me angry.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, there were places in this book of yours that I was really mad at the adults in your life. I was pissed off because they let you down every step of the way. Every place that you could have been let down by an adult, you were. And I was angry. And I read in my sauna, which is my like, namaste like spot. And I am in there and I literally changed my posture in I'm like, I am mad. And so you took my meditation away from me. So congratulations. But I did it for you. I was angry. And I'm angry for anybody that has been through what you've been through, where adults have let you down. And unfortunately, we hear this far too often. And what you've been able to do from all of it, you're escaping reality, all of the rebellion, all of the addiction, all of the things, the sex, the drugs, all of it, the violence. And you turned into this absolute badass woman who is now this multimillionaire who freaking like brings it. But it took you being homeless, building your life, losing all of it yet again, building it again, losing it. I am just so incredibly impressed with you and your tenacity to get through the things. And you're an incredible role model for a lot of women that are like myself and you, who have taken the shitty things that have happened to them and turned them into incredible. Like with me, I'm giving pain purpose. I'm giving my pain purpose. I would have never done something like this had I not been diagnosed with this debilitating disease that I have. But I've taken that and having to do something with it, because what's the alternative? I'm going to sit here and make my whole entire life revolve around something that's shitty. Yes, but making it positive. And that's what you've done. So can you talk a little bit about what you have done to create this unbelievable home and life for you and your 4 children? Because I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not always fabulous as we make it
Of
seem,
course not.
it's definitely, and first off, before I go there, I just want to tell you that you are so incredible. I have done a lot of podcasts. You are by far my favorite. You just have just an incredible aura and joy, and I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. If any of those adults would have changed, if anything would have been different, I would not be who I am. I would not be able to impact and do the things that I'm meant to do in this world. And so I'm so grateful for like all of it and all the actors that, played all their roles, to be honest with you, like all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, because
Sure.
I'm going to be able to touch people that like may not be, maybe may need me to, maybe on the edge, So I'm just so grateful, and I'm super grateful that I never quit. But I did have to like reprogram the way I thought, removed my limiting beliefs, removed myself and people access to me. I had to cut everybody off who was not negative and didn't give me what I gave them. And truly, like my most successful year was 2021. That's when I was number one for FHA lending in Illinois. And it was by far the most difficult year of my life. I have never cried so much. I never did so much work to dive so deep and become 100% responsible for all that I call into my life. There's definitely like an inner battle within me that I was dealing with. And it's also the year that I realized that, where my emotional, like the emotional abuse, the damage that it really caused, because I couldn't see it. Because without my dad, I had no one because my mom left, and I just couldn't see the damage that was really caused. And what I really continued to call in my life was my inner beliefs of what I thought I deserved. And the truth is that I was looking for the same love he gave me. That's what I continue to look for. And it was because I didn't learn how to love myself. So, but I couldn't get there without going through all of the hurdles and figuring it out, because I was never a victim to anything. I just couldn't see the damage that it caused. But like I had to pay attention to my triggers and where those first showed up in my life. And those were the indicators of what I really needed to heal, and why I continued to allow people to come into my life and continue to treat me less than I deserve to be treated. 2022 was healing, super healing, and learning how to love myself was 2023. And this year, I'm so excited because I will not accept less than in any aspect, no way, shape, or form. Like if you're not pouring into me, if you're dimming my light and trying to bring me down to a level that I'm not meant to be at, that's just not happening anymore. And it's just, guys, it's an ongoing work. Like it's just ongoing. And I'm 46 years old and just figuring out how to love myself. So it's okay. But as long as you continue on your process wherever you at, and really become 100% responsible, and just know that like everything we call into our lives is so beautiful. Like when a challenge arises now, I'm like, great, what am I supposed to learn? Where am I not honoring myself that I'm allowing this to happen to me again? And what do I need to do to pay attention to those things so I don't continue it? Because to be honest with you, you can have narcissistic behavior coming from your best friends.
No kidding. Yeah.
You continue to call it in until you really learn. You deserve more, and I deserve the world, and I'm coming for it all. And so my suggestion to you is just, and the funny thing is, in regards to like, I have to say this because my stepmother, like I have so much love for her, because truthfully, if it wasn't for her, my dad would have nobody. And it took, you know, you can't expect her to be perfect with having to deal with and love my dad. Like, he needed her.
Yeah.
Like, he needed her. And
Yeah.
without her, so that's why like there's a perfect match for all of us. And who are we to judge? Truthfully, I'm just the daughter, like, and she has her trauma and he has his trauma. And guess what, guys? Our parents they're not gonna fix it, and they don't have to. If you heal, you'll be able to love them, and it will be okay. Just, I mean, you have to set up protective boundaries so you're no longer being hurt. But, some people aren't going to heal in this lifetime, but I'm grateful that I am, and I'm going to make sure that my kids do. And I reverse all the behaviors that I did incorrectly and take ownership for that. So that way they don't have to call that crap into their life, and they don't have to learn the same way I did.
And I mean, and that's beautiful. And I'm glad that you said that about your stepmom, because I mean, I'm on your team, by the way, 100%. So reading the book, I'm like, I am going to cut people.
Yeah, no, I
Talk
love.
about Chicago gang. I am your LA. I'm your LA gang member on helping to support and protect you. I can tell you that much right now. But it was just one of those books that really, there's a lot of parallels, not so much the gang violence side of it, but there were so many parallels in it that it took me back to some places that were kind of dark and twisty, which happens on this show because it's kind of the show. It's dark and twisty. But it was like, ooh, geez, I haven't thought about that in a very long time. So you pulled out some stuff that I actually have suppressed. And so I had some decent conversations with my sweetie. I was just like, oh God, bleh. Like I have to vomit on you right now. And you can call Jennifer after because it's her fault.
I should have gave you my number. You could have gave it all to me. I would have.
Oh, I have it. I have it. You have to fill it out on the form. You have to put it in. So I already have it. I can heckle you. No, but it's just like I felt like I understood so many places, not all the places, but I definitely could empathize and sympathize in different places throughout your book. But I love that at the end of all of it, which is what everything that we do on this show is talk about hope. There is always a message of hope with every single episode, and you've already done that. But the title of her book is "No One Can Stop Me But Me," and that is something for all of us to like take in, take a deep breath, like pull over if you need to, because yeah, guys, you're the only person in your way. So get out of it. Get out of your own way and do something with it. Like, okay, I can hear you bitch and complain about things that are going bad in your life. Okay, great. Good for you. We all have shit that's happening in our life, good, bad, and ugly. It's what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Jennifer is doing. And that's what Lindsay is doing. And yes, I'm speaking in the third person. I love the journey that I've been on, good, bad, and ugly. And I love the journey you've been on, good, bad, and ugly. And I'm so glad we met at this crossroads in your life, because what an amazing place to have found you.
Yes, I'm so. Thank you so much, because, like, I mean, you've read the book, so I need all the support
I
I can
have.
get.
It's falling apart, actually.
I definitely feel like, for the most part in life, I've kind of been just swinging, and my back's been kind of against the wall in a lot of areas. So I'm ready in this season to take all of the support I can get from everywhere, and I think it's my time. So.
It is. It's everybody's time. Everyone. So if you are feeling right now, you're feeling a little don't lift your shoulders up, put them back, stick those tits out, and let's go for it. She's got bigger ones than me, but we'll both do it. Here, everybody do it. It's wonderful. I love that you just did it. Thank you.
No problem.
I am so proud of you, and I am so happy to have met you and have you on the show today. And there are so many things that are coming up that's going on with this girl. So let's talk about where we can find you. Oh, you have to get her book for starters. It's called "No One Can Stop Me But Me." You can get it on Amazon. All this will be show notes and on Instagram and social and all that stuff. But talk to us about where we can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at I am Jen Hernandez. And I do have a website, I am Jen Hernandez, and it is JENN Hernandez. You should sign up, because I have lots of incredible things coming, motivational messages, different things like that. A documentary, which is in process. So we're working on that. Also, for a living, we didn't really get into it, but we got a little bit into it. I do mortgages, and I help people in low to moderate income areas, people who are creditly challenged, because obviously I have an incredible story and have had to rebuild myself so many times over. So if you've been denied for a loan, or your credit is messed up, you don't think you can apply, you can go by approvedbyjen.com and apply right on my link. Real estate agents, don't let your deals die this year. We need every single deal that can count. And just hit me up on any of the social media platforms or directly.
And I love that, because you really do work with in the housing world. And it's not like she's sitting here slinging her mortgage business, because it's not who she is. She comes from a place where she was homeless. And when you're talking about somebody that had no credit, had no money, was living on the streets, was dealing with addiction, was dealing with the gang violence and all of those things, she didn't have anything. She didn't have two pennies to rub together, and look at where she's at now. So she's here to help in that regard as well, which I think is pretty freaking awesome. What an interesting career choice that ended up happening through it all. And it was neat to kind of read about how you got there. So thank you for sharing your stories with us and being vulnerable and raw and badass. Tits up.
Literally.
Literally tits up. Is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we hit the dusty trail here?
Just the thing that tears our world apart is race, religion, and politics. Guys, just lead with more love and forgiveness. We are all imperfect. Just allow an opportunity for someone to right their wrongs and take, they do have to take ownership. Once they take ownership, we can move forward and really forgive. And the forgiveness isn't really for them, because some of us will have to forgive some very deep things. It's not for them, it's for you. So you don't have to be a victim and stay in a cage for that any longer.
I love it. Thank you so much. Ooh, that's good. I like the in the cage thing. Nicely done. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you.
You are exclusively invited to share this "No one can stop me but me" badass VIP pain journey together. Let's get to the heart of how to heal with you by my side. Do you know somebody who is living in and with chronic pain, or has been dealing with trauma, or may not have a roof over their head? Please reach out to me or Jen. We are here for you. I would love to connect with them and hear their heartfelt stories of strength and wisdom and badassery, because that's what we do here. So please follow the Pain Game podcast wherever you digest your podcast content. We will be there. Visit us at thepaingamepodcast.com and follow us on all the socials. Thanks for listening, my little VIPs. Catch you on the other side.